Each year, thousands of baby boys have the tips of their penises cut off. That's absolutely fucking horrific.
Start again.
Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be fucked up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello, occultists, and welcome back to Occultae Veritatis podcast. My name is Leon Filger, along with
Sage Murray,
Richard Pigley,
Ood Gallifrey,
and joining us in studio today,
Valhalla.
Every year, thousands of baby boys around the world have the tips of their penises cut off for no goddamn reason. That's fucking horrible, so let's get drunk. It's time for What's Your Poison?
Already drunk.
So, what's your poison?
Yes, Aurora 44 cranberry vodka alcoholic beverage. Gio, who you may remember from the Cunnilingus episode, and I were strolling at the farmer's market, and we found these for sale and decided we'd buy them for the podcast.
I love Gio. I hugged them today.
Yeah, Gio's the shit.
This is apparently produced in Hudson Bay Distillers in Landis, Saskatchewan.
Which is kind of near Bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm really I really like this. The vodka cran thing, it's really fucking working for me.
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
delicious.
I don't have a UTI and I'm super into this. So.
I usually, yeah.
This will be good for like your kidney stones, I think.
If you've got lady part, or sorry, if you've got a uterus and parts that get urinary tract infections.
Oh, dudes get UTIs too. In fact, we're going to learn all about it on today's episode.
Fantastic. I'm very excited, Kay.
Because there is an 18% higher probability of you contracting I made up that particular number, but uncircumcised baby boys are more likely to get UTIs in infancy than circumcised baby boys.
I've never had a UTI. Watch, I'm gonna get a UTI this week, and then I'll be real sad about it.
Can you report on it if that happens?
Pardon?
Can you report on it
for
if
the
it happens?
Patreon, which is why you should all become patrons.
Put a news ticker sound on the Dan Rather news sound background.
Like day one
keep
of
up to date with Sage's eminent UTI.
UTI.
I've never had a yeast infection. I'm knocking on all the wood.
Okay, so Sage, what do you rate this?
Okay, I've also danced under the name I'm knocking on all the wood. I rate this like an 8.5 out of 10. It's kind of sweet, not quite as sweet as I would like, but like. It's not like juice, which I like.
I'm giving this a good 10 out of 10.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, this is a solid beverage. I'm a big fan of cranberry juice. I drink it on my own. It's a delicious thing. The fact they added vodka to it, it just makes it even better. No, I'm going to crush a couple of these, I think, once I get home. It'll be fantastic.
Attaboy.
Attaboy indeed.
Ood?
No, I really like it, actually. I've never been a big fan of cranberry, but this is really nice.
Demon?
Well, Ood poured a little bit in my quarter-inch jack, and this shit's delightful.
Would you like some more? I'm still working on beer number 2.
I'm good. The more liquid you put in me, the more I shart out, and it hurts. A lot.
It's very forward flavor, which I really appreciate, so I'll give it a one evening uncontrollably crying in the cab on the way home out of a weekend.
That's a good rating.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm going to give it didn't get sick on the boat.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that good. Didn't get sick on the boat.
Night-night, pumpkin.
8 days after Lindsay and Alex Rothstein welcomed their son Jack into the world, their family and friends gathered for a bris, a Jewish circumcision ceremony.
It was what happened to me, it was what happened to my father and my grandfathers before me.
It was done in such a respectful way.
For Lindsay and Alex, the decision to circumcise Jack was an easy one. Their religion demands it. But other moms like Maria Mosier say the ritual is cruel.
Cut it off or wash it. I think I'll wash it, thanks.
Maria chose not to circumcise her 2 boys, Jude and Blaze. She says they have a right to their own foreskin.
So often we talk about women's rights and women's reproductive rights and their own health and making their own choices, but we don't afford our boys that same right.
Circumcision has become a hot topic worldwide. Today, about 55% of U.S. male babies are circumcised. In Europe, it's only about 10%. This past summer, a German court banned circumcision on children. But the American Academy of Pediatrics recently modified their stance, citing potential medical benefits. They've referenced studies showing the procedure lowered HIV risk by about 60%. Critics say those studies, which were conducted in Africa, were flawed. The conflicting evidence has left many parents confused, but these moms stand by their decisions.
It was definitely an interesting experience and one that I'm glad that we did.
What other procedure would they do where they remove healthy tissue from an unconsenting infant?
Okay. Have you got my dick cutting video?
I have your dick cutting video ready to go, so you just tell me when to put it up there, and I'll put it up there.
I'm not ready for this.
This will be a live reaction for me. I
I apologize for noises and sounds I make.
Yeah. I only watched like a couple bits and pieces. So
Okay, so on today's episode we're going to talk about infant male circumcision. This is a topic that I covered like 2 years ago. We recorded it, but the recording got fucked up, I think.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't want to touch the topic again because it was so horrific, but built up the courage. So we're going to start off the episode by watching. And if you check the show notes on Twitter, there'll be a link to this video, an 8-minute video of a real live baby boy being circumcised. So Mr. Demon, if you wouldn't mind popping that up on the screen, and we're going to watch this and do a live react together of a real honest to God infant male circumcision.
I am not ready for this.
And this particular device that they use is what's generally used in Canadian hospitals.
As parents, Leon and I both have not circumcised our
definitely not
our penis having children.
And no one asked us in the hospital if we wanted to or not. It was never discussed.
No one gives a shit.
No.
I'm sad and scared.
Okay, so
the genital area is cleaned with an
what we're watching here.
solution.
This happens currently to 32% of baby boys in Canada.
That is 32% in Canada and 50% in the United States. Syringe with a 24-gauge needle. A ring block is performed, injecting the local anesthetic ventrally into both sides of the penis with a single puncture.
No, and they've got him strapped down. He's screaming and crying right now. Fuck.
To mark the site of the incision,
they don't put him
the
under,
penis is held upright without pulling excessively on the foreskin. The corona of the glans is identified, as shown.
Jeez.
With a marking pen, the site of the
the head of
incision
the penis
is delineated a few millimeters
and
above
the surgeon
the corona
right now
of
is
the glans,
marking
curving
with
it
his
distally
purple
on the
pen
ventral aspect for
along
about
the
half
under
a centimeter.
aspect of the glans, which is where he's going to be making the surgical cut in a minute or two here, for no fucking reason.
With 2 hemostats, the foreskin is grasped at the 3 and 9 o'clock position.
Can't look.
The preputial opening is gently stretched, and a hemostat is carefully introduced under the dorsal aspect of the foreskin in order to separate the adhesions between the inner foreskin and the glans.
Yeah, this dick looks like
the dorsal slit site is outlined with a pen.
Look at all those nerve endings.
Oh, no.
A straight hemostat is used to crush the foreskin exactly in the demarcated area for several seconds. The dorsal slit is performed, and its incision line should not extend too close, 0.5 to 1 centimeter, to the circumferential circumcision line in order to secure the position of the Gomco clamp or the plastibel on the glans.
Oh, that poor baby.
So I'm just going to keep narrating.
The foreskin
here.
is then retracted, and all the foreskin adhesions to the glands are gently separated with a blunt
eyes are
probe
closed and I'm
or
shielding
hemostat
my face
forceps
from
to
Neither
avoid
the
separating
Canadian
the
Pediatric
mucosa
Society
of the
nor the
glands.
American Academy of Pediatrics endorse this surgery as a general elective. They no longer recommend that everyone get this. There are certain medical conditions in a small minority of infant males who will require a surgical circumcision. This poor kid we're watching didn't need it.
Super duper, most of all kids don't need this. Oh God, there's like a giant bullet.
After selecting the appropriate Gomco
poor
clamp size or
child's dick.
plastibel size, the device is placed over the glands. If the Gomco clamp or plastibel is too loose,
Yeah, they
they can
basically
be
stretched
secured
the
with a
skin of
suture
the opening of the penis
approximating the
open with this
edges
big
of the dorsal
plunger-like
slit.
implement, and they're now stitching one end together.
You just need to wash it like a
Two
finger.
stay
Wash
sutures
it like a
are
finger.
placed at the distal edge of the dorsal slit to enable proper placement of the rest of the Gomco clamp on the foreskin.
Fucking glad I didn't do this to my
I'm
kid.
so glad I didn't do this to my kid.
So glad.
And I had to watch so many of those videos to find one that I thought was like good for the podcast.
I'm so sorry to hear that. This is horrible.
Aren't you glad I didn't do this to my kid?
I am so glad because I love your kid so much.
Oh.
And I also love your kid.
Yeah. We're also really glad that you didn't do this to your kid.
Yeah, never would have. And they wanted. My father was circumcised, and one of the number one reasons for circumcising your son is, well, because his dad was circumcised and he should look like him.
Yes.
Which is one of the stupidest fucking arguments. It's like, well,
That's the reason. That's the exact reason my parents gave me. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
The clamp is assembled and secured at the site of the previously marked foreskin line at the coronal level.
yeah, it's like, oh, my dad beat me, so I should beat my kid too. Well, no, that's fucking stupid reasoning. Intergenerational trauma is a shit reason for a non-medically necessary surgery.
Once the foreskin is securely placed within the Gomco clamp,
in my
the
opinion,
ring
and
is
sorry, this is
tightened.
another bioethics episode. You can put it in the bioethics folder.
After 2 or 3 minutes, the redundant foreskin is incised and removed.
Gross.
Redundant foreskin.
That's loaded.
There's nothing redundant about foreskin.
Leave the foreskin alone.
It serves very useful purposes. I'm biased in favor of foreskin.
Kill it also when they're young, when the foreskin is still attached, you wash it like a finger.
The clamp is
Just wash
carefully
it.
removed from the penis.
Because nowadays, pediatricians won't try to move the foreskin around on little tiny babies whose foreskin is still attached.
It's all covered in blood.
And like,
All to have his dick look more dick-like?
If there's any separation between the mucosal collar and the penile shaft skin, it can be repaired by approximating the edges with fine suture material, as shown. We recommend using 6-0 PDS or Vico-Rapide sutures.
No, as a bisexual man, I am unattracted to circumcised penises. Because I don't know what to do with it.
No, it's annoying.
I don't know how. What do you do with
Can't
it?
pull it down because you're like, am I pulling it down too much? Does it hurt? You're just sad and do your best. That is the answer.
Polysporin or Vaseline is applied to the sulcus of the glands to avoid adherence of the residual foreskin to the glands. Topical application of Vaseline is strongly recommended for at least 2 to 3 weeks to avoid the formation of permanent skin bridges.
So it's got to heal for like 2 to 3 weeks? Is that what they
This
just
makes me
said?
so sad I cannot watch
Like
it
that
anymore.
poor...
Plastibel procedure.
I'm going to make seething eye contact with Leon until this is over.
The same principles
seething.
apply when using the plastibel.
Why?
And this method is becoming more popular.
The appropriate plastibel size is selected. The site of the circumcision incision is marked with a pen. The plastibel is placed under the
Putting like
foreskin.
a little plastic hat. Oh, and now it's...
I get the audio still in my headphones, so it's this is you and me right now.
They stick it under the foreskin. And now they're chopping off
I
a bunch
watched
of
like
the
20
foreskin.
fucking videos.
And the suture is secured, as shown. After a few minutes, the skin distal to the suture is incised and removed.
I'm sure they're watching at home while they listen to the episode.
So with this method, they basically choke off the circulation to the foreskin until it turns purple, and then they know that's where to cut, because whatever's purple is the foreskin that has been deprived of blood oxygen by these strings.
You're welcome, Mini Sage Murray, who is listening to this years from now, for not circumcising you.
So the circumcision of newborn males in Canada has become a less frequent practice over the past few decades. This change was significantly impacted by decisions from the Canadian Pediatric Society, the American Academy of Pediatrics, both who affirmed that the procedure was not medically indicated for the vast majority of newborn babies. So the two biggest governing bodies in North America have said, no, don't do this as a routine procedure. It's not medically necessary.
That's right.
Recent evidence suggests that whatever benefit they once thought there was as far as preventing urinary tract infections is bunk. There's also a very strong argument about the number of nerve endings that are destroyed when the foreskin is removed, which later affects the sexual pleasure felt by the man who's been circumcised. There's also conflicting data about rates of HIV transmission among circumcised men. So I want to talk briefly, and I can only speak about it briefly because there's only a brief amount to cover on the actual benefits of circumcision. First of all is that there are certain conditions where the foreskin can't be stretched on its own, which in the past was argued, well, the foreskin must pass entirely over the glands of the penis, or it's bad. And now we're saying, well, why does it actually need to stretch beyond the glands of the penis? It's still possible to clean it. And if it won't stretch, nothing's getting caught in there to get dirty anyway. So it's not even necessary to be able to completely retract your foreskin anymore.
Especially not for a fucking newborn child.
Not for a newborn whose foreskin does not retract.
More and more parents nowadays are choosing to not circumcise their babies. But a lot of parents have questions about what do you do with a baby's intact foreskin? Is there any special kind of care you need to give it? Well, actually, there is nothing you need to do for a baby's foreskin during the first few years of life. In the old days, a lot of doctors felt that you had to forcibly retract the foreskin, pull it back bit by bit during the first year or two of life in order to help it become fully retractable once baby's older. We now know that's not the case, and that older practice was actually very painful and pretty traumatic on little babies. Now we know parents don't have to do anything with their baby's foreskin. You simply have to clean it like you do the rest of the diaper area. Now parents can explore the foreskin a little bit by gently pulling it back, seeing how far back it'll go without causing any sort of pain or irritation to the baby. And this gentle pulling back over the first couple of years of life while baby's in diapers might help soften it up a little bit, loosen it up a little bit. But foreskins really don't start to become fully retractable until a baby is usually 3 or 4, sometimes not even until they're 7, 8, or even 10. This usually is achieved once a baby starts exploring their penis themselves. During, when the baby's 1 or 2, most kids will start to play with their penis a little bit. And when kids are older, like 3 or 4, when they're in the bath, when they're going to the bathroom, they're typically curious. They'll start pulling back the foreskin, stretching it, pulling it. These are all very natural things that you should allow your young boys to do so that they eventually can retract their foreskin. But let kids do it themselves. Parents typically don't have to do anything for the foreskin in the toddler or preschool years. The foreskin will almost always naturally retract by itself. If you're worried about your child's foreskin, you're not sure it's retracting enough, and you want to have your pediatrician check it out, just ask your doctor at your child's next checkup. He or she can look at the foreskin and make sure that it is on the road to eventually becoming fully retracted.
It's a fucked up thing if your parents don't tell you about it. My dad was circumcised, so he never had to go through his foreskin tearing. And this is what happens to every uncircumcised man, is at some point in your life, your foreskin is going to tear away from the head of your penis. And it happens over the course of a couple of days, and it's quite painful. But God help you, maybe someone told you it was going to happen, because no one told me. And I had no one to turn to when my foreskin started tearing. And it was a terrifying experience. And eventually my father took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, no, it's perfectly normal. We used to go in there, with a knife and start hacking around in it. And now we recognize that it does it on its own. And in a small percentage of men, it doesn't happen at all. So if your foreskin doesn't tear, no biggie, don't worry about it. Every dick is different. Other benefits to circumcision, like I said, in sub-Saharan Africa, there have been some fairly conclusive studies that have suggested that circumcised men are less likely to pass on HIV to a female partner than circumcised men. That's true. And I've taken all my data from both the Canadian Association, or rather the Canadian Pediatric Society and the American Academy of Pediatrics. They're the two most learned sources that I could find. The other argument in favor of circumcision is a reduction in urinary tract infections among newborn baby boys. But again, if you keep it clean, you're not going to have to worry about it. So just don't clean it like you would a finger.
Clean it like a finger.
So
I have an almost 6-year-old, and knock on wood, but he's never had a UTI.
No, and I've been uncircumcised my whole life. I've had UTIs, but that's through catheter use. Bigley, have you ever had a UTI?
No.
No, you've never had a problem.
Keep my business clean.
Keep your business clean.
Keep your business clean after after I ejaculate, I then urinate just to flush out the pipe.
Everyone should do that.
Yes, you should.
After you ejaculate.
Always pee after sex.
No matter what bits you have.
Exactly. Just clean out the system.
So my principal objection to infant male circumcision as a practicing bioethicist, a bioethics facilitator. When I first started in healthcare, I took special training in bioethics, so I know a lot about things like medical assisted in dying and infant male circumcision, and I oppose it because in the vast majority of cases, it's not necessary, and it's a decision you could leave up to him. And of course, as we learned in the first, or them, thank you very much.
And trans rights are human rights.
In the first bioethics episode I did, we talked about the principles of bioethics. And do we all remember what the first principle of bioethics was? Bodily autonomy. That is, in any circumstance under which it is possible to allow the person to make a decision about their own body, that decision should be left to them with proper medical guidance. So that includes everything from infant male circumcision to abortion to getting your belly button pierced. That is not something that should be done to you without your consent. The procedure is much less complicated when performed on an infant. So if you want another argument in favor of in favor of performing the procedure when the kid is small, it's that it is simpler and there are less complications when it's done on a baby, but that's still not a good enough reason in my mind. There is the nerve ending argument, which has been sort of bunked and debunked, if I could use the phrase, because everyone hold out your hands the way I'm doing it right now. So everyone out there in podcast land, hold your hands out in front of you, palm facing upward. Now I want you to, with your left index finger, rub a circle in your right palm. Now imagine that's your foreskin. Now flip your hand over and rub the backside of your hand. That's the shaft of your penis. That's the difference in nerve endings that exist in the foreskin of your penis versus the shaft of your penis. So you can see that your palm is considerably more sensitive than the back of your hand, and that's because it contains a different type of touch receptor than the palm of your hand. So that's what you lose. The palm of your hand sensation is what you lose when you're circumcised.
Sorry, Ood.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's anecdotal or not. But if what you're saying is true, it's been a problem personally for me in past relationships. Like the whole thing, I tell partners that it's very hard to get me off, orally and stuff like that. And sometimes they feel like they need to prove themselves, and if they don't end up making me, they feel bad. And ditto for sex. I tell people I'm still having a great time. I might just not come. And I'm not sure if it's from lack of stimulation or not. And I'm on antidepressants, but this was a problem before I got antidepressants.
But your partner takes it as a personal failure that they are not enough or not doing enough to satisfy you.
Yeah, they don't feel sexy. They want to get me off. They want to feel like the person that's going to be able to, and they can't, because if it's because I've lost a bunch of nerve endings, I mean, that sounds plausible to me.
Yeah, I've been with one guy who was circumcised, and it was real hard to get him off.
I joke he's flick the tongue more, but it's fine.
Sorry, Mr. Sagebari. He doesn't even listen to this podcast. Sorry, Dad.
Does your dad listen? Your daughter has had past sexual partners before her current husband.
Yes. He gives to our Patreon.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
He knew I was a dom before anyone else knew I was a dom.
Okay, so in summary, current evidence indicates that there are potential health benefits associated with infant male circumcision, but they don't outweigh the risks. And there's one number that I saw cited by neither of my two primary sources, but it was that 18% of infant males need to be circumcised, which I think is an exaggeration. It's kind of bullshit.
That's a lot.
But even at 18%, that's still 18% who could have waited. You know,
like, I think it's one of those things where, like, if you press the big red reset button on the world and you start over again, and then some guy comes up with circumcision, I don't think people would get on board. I think it's something that's been normalized. And I think, like, people that go on later in life to maybe get surgery, or parents that make the decision to get surgery for their kids, I think, like, they may be drifting towards, like, some standard that the society has decided, like, this is how dicks should look.
Have you experienced an uncircumcised dick before?
I've seen it and I passed on it.
Oh, really?
I did.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody who wasn't circumcised?
I have.
And by the look on your face, you didn't care for it. I think
It just looks odd to me when they're circumcised. It just looks odd.
Have you ever seen an uncircumcised man?
Yes.
What are your feelings about that?
It looks odd considering at that point in time, I had only ever seen circumcised penis. It was odd for me just because societal norm up until then had been, hey, you've been circumcised.
So would you prefer to have circumcised over uncircumcised?
Yes.
And your overall feeling is just because it's not what you normally encounter?
Yes. If I had been more familiar with it, then I might not have reacted so like, oh, you know, like, oh.
You didn't actually do that when he took his pants off, did you?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I made the look. I don't think I said oh, but I was like,
Oh, okay.
I think that circumcision is something that doesn't need to be done.
Well, how do you feel about uncircumcised dudes?
You know what? I think it's strange to cut that off. I mean, you have
I think
a baby.
it's almost barbaric, really.
Really? You have a baby, you're like, oh, it's a boy. Let's cut this off.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like because I've been, like, culturally, like, bred and used to seeing a cut one, I prefer it. I prefer the feeling of it. I feel like if I had a son, I would totally cut him. Because, I mean, guys, a lot of times they come too fast anyways, so it's like, people say, oh, it's gonna cut off some nerves and, like, disturb their pleasure. Well, sometimes the pleasure needs to be curbed a little bit, because dudes get kind of excited, and, like, I want a guy who can, like, go for a long time.
So you would like to numb him a little bit just to extend the pleasure?
Oh, definitely.
Have you seen an uncircumcised guy in person?
No. I mean, just from what I hear of them and how they're described, definitely cut that boy.
Yes.
I want a fully circumcised penis.
Have you been with an uncircumcised man?
No, and I wouldn't.
I
don't like the way that I just
Have
don't
you
like
seen
the
one
way-
before?
I've never seen one in real life, but I don't think that I would enjoy it.
What do you think is the difference?
I don't know. I don't like the look of it.
I would be interested in seeing one. I'll try anything.
Anything once.
Anything once, yeah.
So, what do you think the ultimate difference would be?
See, that's the thing. I
don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, it's just skin, right?
Yeah. No, it's just a little extra skin.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen an uncut man?
No, I haven't.
No? Would you be interested in seeing one? I wish I had one to show you. Would you think that would matter to you? If they were cut or not?
I'm not really sure. I've heard some of my friends say that they almost feel better. Huh?
Would you like to try one just to see?
I'd probably try one. I'd be curious.
It's just a different flavor. See what it tastes like. Have you ever seen an uncut guy?
Yes.
And what are your thoughts?
That doesn't bother me at all. Sometimes it feels better, depending on the guy.
So you notice a difference in the feeling?
Yes.
But as far as the way it looks, you don't have a preference one way or the other?
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, Isn't
Yeah,
it like
and
way more popular in the States than it is in Canada?
It's roughly 50% in the States and it's 32% in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's vastly lower in Europe.
Yeah.
And in Scandinavian countries, the rates are below 5%.
Right.
In Scandinavia.
Wow.
Yeah, most dicks in porn are circumcised as well. So
Which is so weird because as a circumcised man, when I first started watching pornography when I was like 12 or 13, every dick is cut in porn. Right?
You're circumcised.
Did I say that?
You said circumcised.
Sorry, uncircumcised.
It's like I'm pretty sure you're uncircumcised.
No, I'm uncircumcised. But seeing cut dicks in porn was bizarre to me because I didn't look like them, which meant something was very wrong. And I had questioned it at the time.
They do need to last through the scene, so that matches as well.
I guess.
Yeah.
Would that
Anyway.
maybe have been the reason why your guy elected to do that? Just seeing a lot of porn? I don't know.
Wanted to
That
like
sounds
look,
like him. Yeah.
look bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. There's nothing. And I've heard, first of all, dick shaming is a shitty practice. Don't do
Absolutely.
it. Like, stop shaming people's dicks. Every dick is fine. Like, every dick's
And
a good
even
dick.
if it's a shitty person like Donald Trump,
Don't dick shame.
don't dick
anyway.
shame.
Don't dick shame.
body shame. Well,
No.
that's still shitty.
Yeah. So I'm going to conclude the episode with recommendations from the CPS, and these are some really important takeaways. CPS stands for the Canadian Pediatric Society from this. First, the CPS does not recommend the routine circumcision of every newborn male. Very important. Number 2, physicians and other healthcare professionals caring for newborns must stay informed about circumcision and assess parents in understanding potential risks and benefits of the procedure. Number 3, the parents of newborn males must receive the most up-to-date, unbiased, and personalized medical information available about neonatal circumcision so that they can weigh specific risks and benefits of circumcision in the context of their own familial, religious, and cultural beliefs. Now, I didn't even touch on cultural and religious beliefs because I'm a staunch atheist, and I think religious beliefs are a shitty reason to do anything, so don't even fucking get me started. Just don't even get me fucking started. Jews, don't.
Okay, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
Don't even get me started.
Don't get me started.
But Leon.
Yeah, what?
But like, I mean, Yahweh wants a hunk of my baby dick. What am I supposed to do?
Yahweh doesn't need your dick.
But like,
And he wants his moil to suck your baby dick blood out.
Yeah.
So if you pay the rabbi to do that, does he get to keep the tip?
I have no idea what they do with the tips.
Okay.
They take a tip.
Hello, Mommy.
How do you do?
Okay, quick question. I was thinking about this. I was reading that in the paper they were saying that when some Jewish boys are circumcised, the moil will kiss the boy's penis. In fact, it's controversial because the boy is bleeding. When he kisses it, some of the boys have gotten herpes. My question to you is, when I was circumcised, did the rabbi kiss my penis afterwards?
Howard, do you think that I looked at what the rabbi was doing?
Okay.
No.
I couldn't bear to look. I was in another room. I couldn't take that.
Well,
this was my little baby.
But why not? You see, here's the thing. You know what? I really have the feeling that even Dad, if he saw some rabbi, putting my penis in his mouth.
Oh, stop it, Howard.
I don't think Dad would even do anything. He'd be like, well, that's what they...
what you're fixating on.
Go ahead, have fun.
A man in his 50s, and you're worried whether the rabbi kissed your penis.
Does Dad know the answer to this? Did he
How
watch...
do I know what Dad knows?
Did Dad watch me get circumcised?
Ask him. I don't remember.
Is he there?
Yes, he's here. Would you like to
Yes,
speak
I'd
with
like
him?
to ask him.
All right.
All right.
Hold on, Howard.
Hello?
Hey, Pop.
All right. I was listening on the radio what you're talking about. First of all, this procedure was done not by a rabbi, by a moil.
Moil.
And it was done in a very religious Jewish cult.
Right.
That's not a general practice. And they're doing that because of the bleeding. They want to take away the blood, and sort of use a healing situation.
Right.
Now, this business with herpes, I don't know where the hell that came from, but it's possible that, doing it from one child to another. I don't know where he picked it up.
Well, I don't know that.
The kids don't have it. Come on.
No, the kids can get the herpes.
No, but your dad is saying maybe from one child to another. I'm like, no, the kids aren't giving the guy herpes.
The moil's got herpes of the mouth, and he passes it on to the child.
That's right, because he's going from child to child. Now, I don't know where the hell that came from.
Now, did the moil that did me, did he kiss my penis?
Absolutely not.
How do you know?
I was there.
And you watched?
Of course.
Now, if he had gone for it.
Excuse me?
If he had tried to kiss the penis, would you have stopped him?
He would have been in big trouble.
Nah, my dad would have been like, that's the Jewish religion.
No. It's not the Jewish religion. In fact, in some cases now, they're doing it in the hospital. They have a hospital room, and so, it's done on more sanitary conditions. But basically, it was the circumcision, is an old biblical thing, with Abraham and the rest of it. And every Jewish person, and now not only Jews, but all over the world, people are having it for reasons of, problems.
Well, let me ask you something, though. I mean, how did you know this guy cleaned his instruments properly and all that?
Well, you never know.
No, that you don't know. You got to leave it to that this person is a decent human being, and he's not going to do anything to harm anyone.
All right.
That's the individual.
I was just curious because Artie asked me if my penis had been kissed, and I said no, and then I realized, well, maybe it had. How do I know?
No, absolutely not.
All right.
Good. Parents who choose to have their newborn son circumcised should be referred to a practitioner who is trained in the procedure. And there are physicians who are trained and there are physicians who are not. And it's very important, as we saw from the video, that it was not an uncomplicated procedure. It was fairly involved. You need someone who knows what they're doing.
Like spinning around and snipping and...
It's on the Twitter. Go check the video on the Twitter.
I thought about a speculum and I was like, this is so much worse.
Yes, because it's like inside your tiny
moved
dick.
around things and...
Yes.
Next, neonatal male circumcisions must be performed by trained practitioners whose skills are up to date and strictly adhere to hygienic and analgesic best practices. Because holy Christ, it wasn't until fairly recently, like the mid-'80s, right around the time when I wasn't circumcised, that they actually started using analgesics and anesthetics in circumcisions. Prior to that, they would literally strap the baby down to a board and start hacking away.
Because they believe that babies couldn't handle it or didn't need and couldn't feel pain. Correct?
Exactly. They're not going to remember it, so it doesn't matter, which is super fucked. As someone with an impaired memory, I'm personally offended by the proposition that we can do things, you can hit your kids or cut off parts of their penises or whatever because they won't remember that. That's an absurd and horrific reason to do anything.
Well, yeah, and let's say the hypothesis is true. The babies don't feel pain. Okay, you run a coma hospital and you run a little side business where you say like, hey, I'm gonna give you this scalpel and you can just cut the people in the coma a little bit. They're gonna heal, so it's not a big deal. They're not gonna feel it. So just just go to town with the scalpel on the coma people. Whatever.
They won't even fucking remember. Who gives a shit?
My name is Buck.
Yeah. You can't argue that that's moral. So how can you say the baby's not gonna remember and I don't know if they feel pain the same way we do.
They truly believed up till very recently that infant children could not feel pain and therefore
that they wouldn't remember it, so it was inconsequential.
Yeah.
Close follow-up in the early post-circumcision time period is critical. The parents of circumcised boys must be thoroughly and accurately informed about post-procedural care and possible complications. And there are complications from circumcision. There are infections. There are problems. I mean, a baby dick is so tiny that the precision you require to make even cuts and make sure everything's done properly is very difficult. Like a circumcision is not like piercing someone's ears.
No.
Let me say that again. A circumcision is not as simple as piercing someone's ears.
Well, the literal difference between being a boy and a girl is like 2 centimeters.
If that.
When you're born.
Yeah.
Whatever your external genitalia looks like.
I've beaten people into tears, and I'm telling you, do not watch this or watch it for informative purposes. But just know
you barely watched any of it. It was yucky.
I've beaten people to inconsolable tears. And this made my heart very sad.
Yeah.
So
I had to watch it, so you should too.
At the time of hospital discharge, health professionals should ensure that the parents of uncircumcised newborn boys, that's uncircumcised newborn boys like me, and Richard Bigley, know how to appropriately care for their son's penis and are aware that normal foreskin can remain non-retractile until puberty. So don't try to fucking jerk around with your kid's foreskin. Just leave it. Literally clean it like a fucking finger.
Clean it like a finger.
And
don't try to pull it around.
Don't try to pull it around.
I've even talked to my doctor about that. I'm like, what you do with the foreskin? And she's like, you clean it like a finger. And I'm like, sweet. We'll keep you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many old school doctors that try to pull it off and it causes so much more damage. Leave it alone.
That's something I wanted to touch on just for a second. After we've laid this all out, it seems like pretty obviously a pretty fucking bad decision to arbitrarily cut your kid's part of your kid's dick off. But if you've gone through this and like you're a parent and you've gone through this, like it depends on how you were influenced. Like, did you get told by like medical staff that this is a good idea?
Right.
Because there was a lot of that misinformation going out there.
And lots of pressure. Like, we're not trying to
Yeah.
shame anyone.
No. We're just saying if you haven't done it yet, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like if it's already been done, and I've lost a close family member over the circumcision debate because she had her son circumcised with medical advice suggesting that it was a good idea when in fact it wasn't. Like, I'm so fucking sorry, that happened to you.
Right.
It shouldn't have.
This reminds me a little bit of like a callback to one of your barbaric medical practices episode. Like, this is a procedure that in the past was done for like belief and cultural reasons that in a small set of circumstances can be useful in like a modern medical context, but in the past it was widely abused.
Oh, that definitely makes sense. Maybe people used to always do it because they thought, yeah, like your dick will be cleaner. It's easier to take
Your dick
care
won't be
of.
cleaner. Like,
well, unless you live in like biblical times, it's
let this episode of Occultae Veritatis podcast be the end of infant male circumcision in Canada. Share this episode with everyone you know, and let's just stop fucking cutting baby dicks.
Yeah.
And finally, quality Canadian data are required to understand the clinical and economic issues involved with neonatal male circumcision, including its potential risks, benefits, and costs in the Canadian context. The end. For Occultae Veritatis podcast, my name is Leon Filger, along with
Paige Murray,
Richard Bigley,
Ood Gallifrey,
and joining us in studio,
Valhalla.
Good night.
Love you, bye.
Oh, hey. There was a lot of talk this episode that implied that men had dicks and women had pussies. We're all still trying to break our own biases and cycles, so saying male penis and boy dick comes natural. But I just wanted to reiterate that there are girl dick, man pussy, and all the other iterations out there. Because sexuality is complicated, and gender is a social construct, and even sex itself is bimodal and not binary. Science has progressed far and wide beyond the 8th grade classroom. Wake the fuck up, people. Playing us out this episode, we have Foreskin. I Want You Back by Earl Monroe, featuring artist Gary Anthony Williams. Enjoy and see you in the after show.
What about?
You don't like a lot of extra bullshit from a man, but you like it even less when something's missing. Girl, we both know I'm packing, but still there's something lacking, and I'm not looking at it when I'm pissing. They ripped it out, it made me shout, and now it's all I think about. My foreskin got snipped off when I was 8 days old. Foreskin, they cut it off and made a fold. Now there's less of me to hold with lower sensitivity, or so I'm told. I want to be sensitive. Whoa, down there. Whoa. I miss my foreskin. I miss my foreskin. You realized I'm circumcised the first time that you held it. You giggled and you told me that it looked like a helmet. I looked up foreskin reattachment on the internet, but I think I misspelled it. It's kind of a funny word, foreskin. If my penis was plastic, I'd glue it back on. If it was paper, I'd staple it. And if my dick was made of metal, I would weld it. But I can't do that, cause it would burn. But how I yearn for its return. My foreskin, I want you back where you belong. Foreskin, that little flap on the end of my schlong. I'm thinking, but I could be wrong, that little extra piece could make it extra long. I just want it to be a little bit longer, just a little bit. Whoa, whoa, I want back my foreskin. I want back my foreskin. Snip, snip. Snip dog. Yo, what up? Snip doggy dog. That's me. You're gonna snip it off. Say what? Circumcision on your fizz or skizzin'. Oh, hell no. Circumcision on your fizz or skizzin'. Listen up, y'all. I say I'm cocking a 9, that mean I'm cocking a 9, and ain't no cock-eyed doctor about to take what is mine. You want a tip? Get a job as a waiter. I'm gonna defend my tip in from these foreskin haters. Step away from the scalp unless you're looking to scrap. Put your hands on my hoodie and it's click-clock rap. I'm OG, original Glans, aka uncut bazinas. If you can't understand, I'm checking out of this world the same way I checked in. Black, mad, and with all of my skin. Hello, foreskin. I've been thinking about you. Foreskin, how could I ever live my life without you? I want you to come home, foreskin. I want you back. Back where you belong, hanging out next to my sack. If my penis is missing anything, oh, foreskin, it is you. Foreskin, do you think about me too? Do you think about me too? And all the things we do, like urinate, masturbate, and screw. Oh, foreskin, I love you. If anybody recognizes my foreskin from a picture on the side of a milk carton, please contact your authorities.
Today, we will be welcoming in some new members of the Cult of Valhalla. If you would like to join the cult as well, just go to www.patreon.com/ovpod. First and foremost, Allison Penridge. For $6.66 a month, welcome to the Cult of Valhalla. Next, we welcome in new cult member Bridge O'Rourke. At $6.66 a month, your money will be used to feed the activities of the cult itself and to add to the glory of Valhalla. We welcome you and we embrace you. Thank you for joining. At $1 per month, the Cult of Valhalla welcomes Jay Ford. Thank you for joining the Cult of Valhalla. Your serving of gruel and complimentary bowl of weed will be presented to you at 6 a.m. every morning. Welcome. At $6.66 a month, simply Mike. Mike, welcome to the Cult of Valhalla. If you want the itchiest robes, you have to get up early. They are a hot commodity. And finally, at $6.66 a month, we welcome into the loving embrace of the Cult of Valhalla and the Mother Val herself, Brooke Steen Hicks. Welcome to the Cult of Valhalla. We love having you. If you would like to join the Cult of Valhalla, just go to patreon.com/ovpod. One of the many benefits you may enjoy from joining the Cult of Valhalla, dear new cult members, is the ability to decide what future cases we cover next. Right now, the August poll is up for future episode polls, and there's a three-way tie between transphobia, the Saskatchewan Freedomites, and conversion therapy. Whichever gets voted in as highest will be covered as a future episode, so make sure to get your vote in. This cult is a democracy, after all. That's all from me. I've been Ood Gallifrey. Hey, today, I want you to look into the mirror and find 3 things you like about yourself. Because you deserve love. And there are things about you that are wonderful, special, and invaluable. Have a wonderful day.